How to beat burnout without quitting your job. Are you a working mother juggling with multiple demands in your life? Feeling a little burnout? Wondering, can you maintain your job while taking care of all the other responsibilities that come in your role? Would you like to learn some practical tools? Then stay tuned. Our guest today will share her story and her client stories on how to beat burnout without quitting your job. And you are watching Happy and Healthy Mind Program, episode 118. And our guest today is Gifty Enright. She's an author, speaker, coach, and a women and wellness in the workplace expert. She has spoken globally at multinational organizations such as banks, the government, top universities such as Oxford University, and has given a Tedx talk. She's highly regarded writer, and apart from her book Octopus on Treadmill, is regularly published in newspapers and magazines. She's also sought after for expert commentary on TV programs. And we are fortunate to have her as guest. Thank you, Gifty, for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. And I'm your host, Dr. Rozina-Happy. I help leaders stop burnout with precision wellness. I believe that our mind is the software that runs the hardware of our brain and our body. Therefore, we share practical tips for mental fitness in these programs. If you need specific medical advice, please consult your healthcare professional. But if you find this content helpful, then join our mission of eradicating preventable suffering by subscribing and sharing so more people can live and perform at their best with hope, health, and happiness. All right, so let's learn from our guest. Gifty, please share, how did this topic become important in your life?
Well, so probably going back to at least some 12 years ago, actually, if not even 15 years ago, I was unwell, as in I was literally carrying around a spreadsheet of 14 different symptoms that I was tracking on a monthly basis, color coded, just to see whether things were getting better or not. And I would go to my doctor and tell her what was wrong with me, and she'd be like, oh, your mother, you got small kids, you got a full-time job, that extreme fatigue is normal, this is normal, this is normal. So my doctor wasn't taking me seriously. And here in the UK, you get free medical care. And so I had to go private and pay for somebody to tell me exactly what was wrong with me. And I was facing a lifetime of being on medication for the rest of my life. That was the option I was going to be given. Or me take, things into my own hands and find a way out. And I decided to take things into my own hands and find a way out because I didn't want to spend the rest of my life on medication and dealing with the side effects of that as well. And so I just went on a journey to find out everything that I could for women my age, what was out there, different cultures, blah, blah. And I was able to reverse all the symptoms. I was able to reverse everything and come back to live a proper life, without coming home from work and just literally the moment I sat down on the sofa, I would be asleep, or feeling so overwhelmed that I just didn't have the energy to do life.
Mm-hmm.
And every day there was something wrong with me. Every day there was something wrong with me. And it just got to a point where my husband just got fed up and said to me, you need to go private and pay for this to be sorted out because I can't live with you like this. And that was when I actually went out and sought help.
Wonderful. I'm so glad that you were able to stop the burnout before it totally burnt you out.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm sure our audience would love to learn some of the tools that helped you and that you help your clients with so that they can also come out and stay successful in their life. So please share some of the tools with us.
Right. So, on my journey, what I found is that people, when these things are wrong with them. So I had got to the point where I was also perimenopausal at that time and I didn't even know it. So a lot of my symptoms got conflated with, the burnout as well. And I'm not even sure I had even heard of burnout before that point. And so what I realized was I had to do a complete 180 with my lifestyle. Because what we do is we medicate a lot of lifestyle issues, right? And so when the doctors were trying to put me on medication, my argument was, let me change the lifestyle, and after that, if I am still having these issues, then we will look at medication.
Right.
and and so when I say I changed my lifestyle, it was a complete, everything had to be revamped. So and when I work with people, when I'm coaching women in burnout, basically I'm working holistically. So we're looking at physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, right? And so if we're looking at physical, we start with the physical. I completely overhauled what I ate, because I thought I was eating healthily. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that think they are, but if you don't know about food, if you don't understand about nutrition, you're eating things masquerading as food, and they're not actually food. The nutritional value is very low. Do you
Right.
know? So I had to educate myself about what real food was and start eating properly and get the right nutrition into my body to support myself. Now, also before that, I've never had a weight issue. So for me, I thought I don't need to exercise, I just, it just wasn't, I just didn't do sweat. I just didn't exercise. Now, when you're stressed out, I mean, one of the best things for stress is exercise, because it just cuts through that stress. Now, I didn't know that, and I wasn't exercising, and I hated exercising. You know, I really did.
Yeah.
And so it was getting myself, once I understood why I had to exercise, then it was something that I had to include in my lifestyle. I had to build it into my lifestyle.
Mhm.
Um, and even things like hydration, oh my God. I mean, when I said on my list of 14 symptoms, constipation was there continuously, right? And I didn't know it was things like changing my nutrition, including more fiber in what I ate and getting better hydrated, was going to help me eliminate that. So, and for somebody that was perimenopause and I was also estrogen dominant, and with that, you need more fiber to help just literally wash things through your system so you don't get all that estrogen buildup, excess estrogen. And I didn't know any of this. So I was there just, eating what I thought was healthy and not enough fiber and all the rest of it. And so the nutrition was a huge change for me. And then the exercise wasn't even a change, it was non-existent. So I had to bring it in. And things like sleep. I used to be one of those people that would be there, I don't know, 1 o'clock in the morning watching Netflix. So I'll come home so exhausted, I'll fall asleep on the sofa and then wake up at about 11 and start watching Netflix, right? Into the night. Again, that was very disruptive. That whole circadian rhythm was, I was just being crazy with my biological system. So I had to again learn about that and sort out my sleep. So that was down on the physical side. And then there was when I talk about the emotional side, it's more about the mindset and managing your emotions and all those toxic emotions that we just allow to fester, and we're sitting there and we're resentful and we are not forgiving people and we're hanging on to all these things that, because when you're angry or when you're stressed out and you're thinking, you get caught into a negative loop. All what you're doing is just generating more cortisol in your system, which is not helping anybody. do you
Right.
know but people
Right.
don't, when they're not well, they don't think that emotional management is contributing. do you
Right.
know
They say we are justified because things are not going according to my desire. I'm justified to feel angry and I'm justified to feel frustrated. And so, like, sometimes when I'm working with the people, I just say, you are justified. It is normal, but it is not serving you. So, what can you do to modify it? Acknowledge, but you don't have to hang on to it.
yeah
Initial reaction that you get because things went wrong is normal. Acknowledge it, validate it, but you do not need to hang on to it. You can let it go. And that
yeah
is where we don't learn to do that as we are growing up as a society. It seems like we are getting more and more entrenched into these reactivity patterns that are not serving us.
No, and I love the way you put it there. It's normal, but it's not serving you. Right? I love the way you know, because when people understand that, yes, of course, it's normal that you're going to be upset, or you're going to be bitter about something, whatever. Yes, feel the feels, but you can't hang on to it, because when you hang on to it, it affects your biochemistry and it starts making you ill. And once people understand that, then you think, when you're holding on to a grudge, the person you're actually hurting is you.
Right. Your
You
blood
know?
pressure is going up,
Yes.
your arteries are getting constricted, your muscles
Right.
are getting tight, you are developing chronic pain, and the other person that you are upset about may not even know, or they may
May
know.
not even know, may not even know, and yeah, ending up on medication. Because so it was and again, this was a huge educational point for me, learning that and managing my thoughts and managing my thought processes. Is what's his name, is it one of the Stoics, Marcus Aurelius? He said, the quality of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts, right? And so if you're there thinking crappy thoughts, you're going to have a crappy life. But a lot of people, I think, where they get stuck is even when they come across this information that this thought is bad for me. I shouldn't be resentful. I shouldn't be this and that. They get it on an intellectual level, but they don't know how to navigate themselves out of that. They kind of get caught in that, you know. But it really is worth doing the work to manage your emotions, and, if you like, produce the biochemistry that serves you. Do you know? Because every thought you're thinking is changing your biochemistry. And then there's the mental side of it. So, I mean, because the emotional and mental, you can even put them together. But the mental side of it, for me, it's what are you putting in your head? What is your mindset? Do you know? Is life happening to you, or is it happening for you? Right? Because if you're there thinking things never go my way, if you are not, reading the right books to put the right mindset into your mind, right, you will be thinking the wrong thoughts. And so again, it's making sure the mental bit is about the educational part of it. It's about educating, yourself, so you think in a different way, and then it means that it affects your emotions in a different way. And then the last but not the least is the spiritual side. And when I'm coaching, when it gets to spiritual, people think I'm going to go woo woo on them. No, this is not about the woo woo. I don't expect you to go and kneel before anybody in a temple or in a church or anything like that. That's not what it's about. For me, the spirituality is actually psychology on steroids. Because if you understand that your beliefs are what are generating your lens of life. And so if you believe that everybody's lucky and you're not, then you will act like you're not a lucky person. But where do your beliefs come from? There is that psychological framework that, gives you your beliefs. And this is where spirituality comes in. And I'll give you an example. For me, when it comes to food, my body is a temple. Now, that is the spiritual framework there. Now, if you believe that you are the divine and the divine lives in you, you're not going to put rubbish in this temple. Do you know? And so your spiritual framework affects the way you behave, it affects your beliefs. Your beliefs then generate your thoughts result in your actions. So
Right.
it's looking at those four things holistically and changing your life around.
That's wonderful. Yeah. People forget that their bodies are the temple, or I say that is your biggest asset that lets you
Yes.
walk and talk and do all the things that you do. And so it is the biggest asset. Take care of it. Sometimes, especially as women and especially mothers, we have tendency to put whatever is left over in our body,
Yes.
as if your body is a garbage bin. Whatever is left over, the kids have eaten halfway, or whatever is like, left over. Like, at least in my culture, as I grew up, may not be in some other cultures, but many of the mothers, I see the tendency of consuming leftovers.
Yes.
And so, and I have the same tendency. So I kind of realized at certain point in time, and I started using this phrase, my body is not a garbage bin. So I don't need to put everything in it. But if you think about my body is the temple or my body is my asset, then you would take care of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's wonderful. So, summarizing what you're saying is that once you realize that a lot of your symptoms are because of these lifestyle issues and your, biopsychosocial, we call it
Mhm.
biopsychosocial spiritual belief context. And human beings are not just biological or just psychological or just spiritual. They are combination. These are all
Yes.
facets of our lives.
Yeah.
So you use different terminology to represent the same thing that I also
Yeah.
believe in. And then if you work at your belief system, that is a spirituality,
Yeah.
that would help improve your mood and thoughts. And
Mhm.
as you improve that, then it would improve your behavior.
Yes.
When your behavior would change, that your life would change, your ability to function, handle all these demands in your life may improve. So that is wonderful kind of context for people to understand. So can you give us some examples of, how applying these things, what kind of problems you faced, and then how did you overcome, or some of your clients when they try to apply these principles in their life, what kind of hurdles have they faced, and if what are some of the simple things that helped you and your clients overcome them?
Yeah, so some of the hurdles people face, they have that analysis paralysis thing where they're analyzing and they never start, right? And then they're there, like when I give talks, because I go around corporates and give talks, and people asking me, oh, you're saying spiritual, mental, whatever, whatever, where do we start? Right? And my answer to that is, it doesn't matter where you start,
Yeah.
right? Start from somewhere, choose what. So when it comes to exercise, for example, I hated exercise. So I had to find some exercise that I liked, because if you told me to go for a run and that's what you were going to make me do as an exercise, I wasn't going to exercise because I hate running,
Yeah.
you know. And so you have to do what you like. So look at what you need to change and pick something small there that you like, and then you build the momentum. Now, I love yoga. I could do yoga until, I don't know, my legs fell off or something, right? I love walking. I will not run, but I will walk and walk and walk and walk, right? So, and walking is exercise, yoga is exercise. So do what you love in that bit. So that is the first thing, because otherwise, if you go and decide, okay, I'm going to, like, I don't even go to the gym. If you decide, okay, I'm going to go to the gym every day and do weights or whatever, and you hate that sort of thing, it's not going to happen. So that's a typical mistake that people do. So don't do that. And if you find yourself stuck, sometimes people start all gung ho, like, New Year's resolution, let's go for it. And then, 2 weeks' time, they've stopped. Now, when I'm working with people now, if you have a coach, they're going to drag you over the line anyway, so they're not going to allow you to stop until you stop working with them. But if you're on your own, I will say get an accountability partner. Do you know? Because that helps. Because sometimes you might not feel like doing something, but because you don't want to let your partner down, you will turn up. So tell your family, whatever, I'm doing this, I need an accountability partner who is in it with me, and get somebody and do it together. Because that again keeps you going on the days that you don't want to go. Now, people's mindset is a huge blocker. Somebody, they think, oh, I've always eaten, I don't know, junk food, I can never eat healthy food, or I don't know how to cook, and it takes too long to cook, and I can never eat that is just a block there. And because of that, they look at the one thing they're not good at, and they use that to stop themselves from making the effort. In terms of, if we're talking about healthy eating, for example, I was working with this woman who had an autoimmune disease. And she said, oh, I've spoken to people who've been able to reverse their symptoms, but they all had to go vegan. I don't think I can ever go vegan. I'm like, you don't need to go vegan. Just make one meal vegan. Start from there. It doesn't have to be something big and heroic, because you start there, you build the momentum, you get yourself an accountability partner, and that keeps you going. And then before you know it, you start getting results. And then of course the results, you get that feedback loop, and then you keep going, and then you keep going.
That's wonderful. Yeah, like I have patients who would have hard time, similarly to your clients, and I would say just start. Even if you want to eat the burger, even if you want to eat the burger and French fries, and that's what your main meal is, and that's what you like, start with just having the half the plate with the veggies. Eat the salad first. And so just kind of having the healthy plate that we talk about, like no healthy plate we have talked about in another program, where half of your plate should be vegetables and fruit, and then a quarter could be protein and a quarter could be carbohydrate. So even if you are doing the burger, which probably is three quarters because a quarter is the protein and quarter is the carb and the quarter is the French fries, but start with at least this quarter or half plate of veggies, or start with that, because then you would get those nutrients that comes from plant sources, then you would get the fiber, then you would get some of the fluids that is necessary for the digestion to happen. And one big thing that I recently found, like I people who have been following me know that I've been really promoting having the continuous glucose monitor that I also
Mm.
put, and for the wellness purposes. And so one of the things that found that when you're eating sources of sugar, let's say I love mango, okay, so every time I eat mango, my blood sugar goes really high. So one thing that I could do is, if I have a salad that I want to eat, and then I also want to eat something sweet, instead of eating sweet first and then eating salad, I should eat salad first and then eat the sweet. So what happens is that salad, that fiber would allow the slow down the rise of blood sugar from the sweet thing that I may eat, and then kind of decreasing the portion so that my blood sugar does not shoot up so much. And
Mm.
so like simple changes like that, what you eat first and what you eat second, and adding
Yes.
some plant thing, and like you said, you kind of making one meal vegan is kind of getting you started on the path to wellness, because it's not a light switch. It's not like
No.
ill and
No.
well. It's kind of a
No.
continuum. And so you can kind of go from illness to wellness, and your goal needs to be kind of optimum wellness so you can live your best life.
Yeah, yeah. And so that there is, and of course, the women I work with, for women, a big problem for women, because of all the demands on our time, is having firm boundaries, right? And so you could do all the physical things, but you will still burn yourself out if you are there looking after everybody else, no time for yourself and self-care, because you've got porous boundaries and everybody is just pulling on your time. But because mothers feel that we've been put on this earth to, I don't know, our life should be in service to everybody else, you
Right.
never stop to look after yourself. There are no boundaries when because somebody's asking, you're giving. Now, that is not serving yourself. And your children need you alive. Do you know when
Right.
you're dead, you're of no use to anyone? And so,
Right.
if you really want to serve, you need to stay alive. That is your first priority. Do you know, if you want your children to be happy, you need to stay alive. Because
And
when you're
healthy.
dead and
And healthy.
healthy, right? And healthy, because if you're alive and you're unwell, you're putting stress on the children. They're worried about their mother. Do you know? And so it is incumbent on the mothers to live well, A, because you're taking pressure off the people that love you, B, you're giving them permission to live well, because your children are who you are. Right. So you can tell them whatever you want and read all sorts of fancy, clever stuff and give it to them. If you are not living that, that's not what they are. They are who you are. And so you have to model what good looks like. You have to model what right eating looks like. You have to, I mean, I eat a lot of fish, and I love fish. And when I say fish, I'm not talking fish fingers. I'm talking the proper fish with a head on, the whole thing, right? And most people get freaked out by seeing a whole fish, you know. And I never went out of my way to teach my children how to eat a whole fish and navigate the whole bones. And I never taught them that, but they saw me eat it, navigate it, and guess what? They just do it. And so your children are who you are. And so what example are you setting for them? Are you putting firm boundaries in place? Do you know how to say no? Because if you don't know how to say no and you're running yourself rugged, that is the example you're setting up for the children. And if you have girls, you are just repeating this cycle here of burnout. And so it's harder to implement firm boundaries. You need a healthy self-esteem and you need great communication skills, right? Otherwise, you'll never be able to say no. If you don't have a good self-esteem, you just don't feel worth it enough to say no. And even if you have good self-esteem and you don't have great communication skills, it may come out of your mouth. The no might come out of your mouth, but the people are still going to ignore you because it hasn't come out right in the right way and all the rest of it. And so it's learning that these things are important. Time for yourself is important. You need the boundaries in place, because if you don't, you're going to be in that resentful place and it's going to affect your biochemistry.
And I have like so many questions that are coming up, but I am aware that we are running short of time now. So let me kind of first ask you, is there a kind of a most important take home message that you would like to give to our audience?
So the most important thing is you need to prioritize yourself. First and foremost, that is number one. If you don't hear anything I've said here, throw everything away. It doesn't matter. Learn how to prioritize yourself. Because once you start learning how to prioritize yourself, you have time for yourself. You have the head space to start thinking about your wellness strategy. If you don't prioritize yourself, you will not get the chance to do that.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much. And if people want to learn more about you, how can they reach you?
I mean, on my website, giftyenright.com. So you go there, everything is there.
Can you spell it for people who are just listening?
Yes. So Gifty as in GIF for Freddy, TYENRIGHT. That's giftyenright.com. And if you go to my website, you get all the information. And if you want to work with me, it's all there as to how you can work with me as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, and Gifty, and thank you for the gift that you are going to share with our audience. And so, if you want to get the gift from Gifty, you can go to our website, happyandhealthymind.com, and there's a big button called resources. You click over there, and you'll be able to access all the gifts from our wonderful guest on this program. And if you are in US and you would like us to send the reminders, resources, links, just text the word joyful to number 38470, and we'd be happy to send you those reminders. And so let me leave you on this note. Today is the first day of the rest of your life, and not making a choice is also a choice to allow the circumstances to drag you in the direction the circumstances are going. So, what do you choose today? Are you going to allow the stressors and demands of your life drag you to the point of total burnout? Or are you going to stop, recharge yourself on a regular basis, prioritize yourself, apply some of the tools that you learned today so that you can modify the trajectory and prevent yourself from getting total burnout? So beat burnout without quitting your job and responsibilities by just plugging in these self-care points to your day and to your life. And on that note, stay safe, happy, and healthy. Until next time, Dr. Rozina. And thank you, Gifty, for all your wisdom.
Thanks for having